JT Crowley is Talking Books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, I'm JT Crowley, and today on my show, I'm delighted to have Joann Slead, a children's author from Los Angeles area of California in the United States. Her book, The Secret Life of Bears, is a story telling young children from the ages of 2 to 5 that no matter what their upbringing or background, that Jesus loves them and is there for them at all times. That's the important bit of this book. The story is beautifully told through the characters Papa Bear and Baby Bear, with adorable illustrations by Mohamed Daamouche, supporting and bringing the story to life, because the illustrations, everybody, really do bring the story to life here in this magical, adorable little book, but there is a significant message to young kids here. Joann Slead, as she puts it, has had a remarkable life, growing up on a farm in the states of Kansas, pretending pigs were horses to ride on. I laughed at that one. She has spent a fair bit of her life working as an international relief worker for World Vision International, a large non-profit relief and development organization. She crisscrossed the world, undertaking various projects to enrich the lives of the underprivileged and disadvantaged. In 1996, she set up a sole proprietorship business providing services to non-profit organizations. As well as that, over the years, she served as speaker at several other non-profit organizations and churches. So let's invite Joann onto the show to chat about a little bit about herself and her book. Joann, come and join me on the show.
Thank you, John. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's really good to see you. Believe me, everybody, we've had a few little technical issues here, but we finally got there. We've finally been able to see each other. Isn't it wonderful?
Thank heavens.
Technology, not. Joann, before we open your adorable book, could you tell us all a little about yourself and what experiences in your own professional life brought you to the stage of writing this kind of book for very young children?
There were a number of things. The work I did as a relief worker was hard on the soul. And I needed something to lighten things up, but I also needed to make money. So for a long time, I wrote very technical items for World Vision International. And I interviewed a number of people in places like Rwanda who were survivors. And again, that was hard on the soul. And so it was just a delight to write something lighthearted, but that still have a message. And actually, believe it or not, you're probably not surprised, I am Baby Bear. I was Baby Bear. And Jesus and I have just had this close relationship because of the things I've gone through in my life. And he cuddles me and he talks to me, and I do my best to walk in his path. And I wanted to be able to communicate that to young children, because there are a lot of books out there that are, children's books that have a nice message, and I love nice messages, but at the same time, I want them to have the most important message.
I'm intrigued, Joann. Why did you choose bears to tell the story, and why you're telling the storyline through Baby Bear? You've already touched briefly on that. This is you trying to tap into the hearts of very young creative minds. For children of that early age, really do have imaginative thoughts.
And that was something I would like to encourage, because they can take off in their own and go, wow, I could be Baby Bear.
Yeah.
I could do this with God. I could do this. And that was my hope.
I think that's amazing. And I suspected that, but I needed you to tell the audience that. Now, when we look at the book, everybody, on page 3 in the book, we have a fishing scene. Why that scene, Joann? What are you telling people? What are you telling the kids?
I don't know if you've noticed that Baby Bear is sitting there with his fishing rod bent, and he is not strong enough to bring in that fish. So Papa Bear doesn't do it for him, but he puts his arms around Baby Bear on that fishing rod and is helping him pull the big fish in.
So that's the story. It's a story about support, Jesus' support for young kids. That's what that scene's about, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes. It's great, everybody. Now, I like the illustrations where the bears are making cookies. Who doesn't like cookies? And I like the oven. Thought, oh, that's a novel one. And so there they are, they're making cookies and having a cuddle. They're comforting scenarios, but I suspect you have a message for kids here. What is that message?
That God does everything with them. I mean, he even makes cookies. Who thinks of a God who makes cookies? Who thinks of a God who is fun to be with? A lot of people don't. And yet he is those things. And I especially want little kids to know that he is not a stern, judgmental, I'm going to spank you if you don't obey God.
No, I mean, in my own life, he's not that sort of person at all. I know some people see that, but he's not. And, throughout my own life, and probably yours as well, he's been there for you at the good times and the bad times. And he's put a cuddle round.
Exactly.
And that's why you're telling that little story in that scene there, isn't it?
It is. We all need cuddles from time to time.
Oh, we do. We sure do. When I looked...
And he makes good cookies too.
Does he?
He does.
Has he got his own recipe?
I'm sure he does. I don't know what the ingredients are, but...
You see, we are laughing here, everybody, because that's what the book is about. There is, a sense of, laughter in there. It's lighthearted, but there's a very simple message to young kids. And talking about the illustrations, let's go on to the significance behind the illustrations. So Papa Bear, and if you look at the book, he's looking back down on Earth, and Baby Bear is doing what we call here in the United Kingdom, angel wings in the snow. And you've also got pictures of the galaxies. And I thought, where's Joann going with this little scene? So where are you going with this little scene?
Children need to know how big God is as much as possible at that age. I mean, even as an adult, I don't know how big God is. He's enormously powerful, and yet at the same time he's fun-loving, and he does things like sprinkle snow on the earth so that we can do snow wings. We call them snow angels here, but same difference. And it's important to know that he created everything there is. He created the universe. He created the stars. He created the planets. He created light, created dark. And to me, he's just amazing. I love astrophysics for dummies. I can't do the math by any stretch of the imagination, and I can't even grasp all the meanings of it. But I love the fact there is a particle in physics, it's a subatomic particle called a gluon. And it says in the Bible that Jesus holds everything together, and the glue-on is in the shape of a cross. And that just struck me as so wonderful. And I was trying to portray that as a simple message for children. I mean, they're not going to get all that, but they will get, hopefully, that he made it all.
And of course, you take the storyline a little bit further when the next, what you're saying in the next few pages, because these are the illustrations of the flowers, the bugs, and the insects, because this is the story of creation. How important do you think the story of creation, Joann, is to young kids? And you've already touched on this. It's very, very important to you as well, isn't it? And that's why you're writing about this scene here.
Yes. It's important for us all to realize, and especially children, that, God made not only the big things, but he made the tiny things. He made ladybugs. Do you have ladybugs in the UK?
Ladybirds.
Ladybugs, yeah. And he made little flowers, and he made worms, and I loved it when I asked the illustrator if he could make a cute worm, and he did.
He did. Yeah, he did.
He did.
And when I looked at the illustration, the bear holding the heart, Papa Bear is holding a heart, and the two bears flying the kite. I think you're trying to say to young kids, Jesus loves you, and he's holding a heart out for you.
Yeah, he's giving his heart to Baby Bear.
Yes.
Literally giving it. And the kite is the two of them frolicking together, for want of a better word. They are everything that Baby Bear can't do by himself, which is almost everything. But Papa does it with him, not for him. And although he does it for him too, but he doesn't take over. And the kite just is a sense of freedom to me. It's like watching it fly in the sky, and it's a delight.
It is. It's fly high. Fly high with your dreams and fly high with the Lord. Fly high with Jesus. That's what this little scene is all about, everybody. So, yes, there are messages within all the illustrations, but at the end of the day, it's an enjoyable, really enjoyable little kids' book with wonderful, wonderful illustrations and little messages. Now, you put a jungle scene in here. Was this you because you've been to Africa on your own missions and your own projects, and you thought, oh, I'll put a jungle scene in here?
Probably. And I love the hippo because hippos are funny to me. They're actually dangerous in the wild, but they're
very
in
dangerous.
A cartoon, yeah. They're funny. In a cartoon, they're funny. And going to the jungle is an adventure. I mean, I liked this particular jungle scene because there's nothing scary in it. And God has removed all the scariness of that adventure. But I love the sloth. I love the monkey. I love the hippo. I love the rainbow fish. I mean, they're just everything that you might see in a dream jungle vision.
And of course, there are, kids who are brought up and live in jungles. You only have to think of the kids in the Amazon jungle and in Africa as well. There are kids who live in jungles, aren't there?
There are.
And he loves them just as much, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And sometimes they experience his love more because they have less in this world.
Yes. Jesus, the whole message behind here book, everybody's like, Jesus doesn't differentiate. No matter what your gender is, what your background is, you are still a child of his.
That's right.
Absolutely. And the singing and the playing around scenes are sweet, aren't they? But you have a message here for the kids, no doubt, a similar message in the illustrations where Papa Bear is holding Baby Bear, who's upset and hurt. They're cute, but you've got a cute message here as well, haven't you?
In my life, I had some hard things in my life, and I mean, we all have. And Jesus was always here for me, taking me in his arms and whispering my ear. I may not have understood what he was saying, but I knew it was him, and he was comforting me. And that's just important for everybody to know, that he comforts us. He's there for us. He's never far away. He's right here.
Do you know, for me, Joann, the most significant part of this book, what you wrote and the illustrations which supported what you wrote, it's the scene of where Baby Bear is following in the footsteps of Papa Bear. I thought that was very cleverly done. And of course, it is, for us, and when I've chatted to you, you said you are Baby Bear in the book. This is you following the Lord's way. You're following his footsteps. And that's what you're telling the young kids here, isn't it?
It is. And it's important for them to do their best to follow. You notice, I'm sure that Baby Bear's arms are straight out, like he's trying to maintain his balance to make sure he's following in the right footsteps. And that's kind of how my life's been. It's like I'm holding my arms out straight, doing my best to keep my balance, to follow Jesus as best I can.
Of course, in life, Jesus gives us choices to make, paths to choose. And sometimes we don't go down the right path, do we?
That's for sure.
And sometimes we have to cross over back to the right path. And there's a little bit of that message there as well. But as I say, at the end of the day, this is a young kid's book. Beautifully done, beautiful illustrations, and it's a story. Yes, I know there are messages, but it's still a story. And it's a story that you can read to, for a child at bedtime, to sit with a parent, with a grandparent, with a caring adult, or even a teenager, an older child, to sit and read at night time. And they can think about what's in this book together. That's what this book is about, everybody. And finally, Joan, the last few illustrations are basically saying Jesus can be your dad if you let him. Isn't it?
Yep. All you have to do is ask.
Are you grateful in your own personal life that you chose him as your dad as well?
Oh, he saved me from more than I can tell you right now. He saved me, and I adore him, and he adores me. And without him, I think I would not have made it.
Your Christianity is so important to you, isn't it? And that's why you wanted to share what's happened in your own life, your own experiences with young kids. And that's the underlying reason for writing this book.
That's exactly it. And I'm hoping for children out there that they can draw from my experience and make it their own.
Did you enjoy working with the illustrator, Mohamed, putting these?
I did. it was very interesting. In the beginning, Baby Bear ended up in the first sketch looking like he had a beard. So, so yeah, I gently go back and I say, make the bottom of his face rounder. And he did, and that was one of the hiccups we had in the beginning, and so he kept, he kept making it rounder until I was happy. But once we worked together for a few scenes, we really clicked, and he was a delight to work with. And it was interesting. I don't know if he's a Muslim or not, but I gave him an option in the beginning. I said, I want you to know that this is a Christian book before you do anything, because I don't want you to be offended. I don't want you to feel like you've been led down the garden path, as we say in the States. So I made that very clear to him, and he said, no problem, I want to do it. So that was a delight as well.
Of course, he's from Morocco, isn't he?
Yes.
Well, I'm intrigued. So we've got this book. Joann, have you got any intentions of writing more books, young children's books or adults' books, now that you've got this one under your belt? Are you?
Well, I think there's going to be it's going to turn into a series of Team Bear books. Baby Bear is Baby Bear in name because he's too little to know he's a cub. Well, he gets a little older and he realizes that he's Cubby Bear. And along comes Cutie Bear, his sister, and they have their adventures together with their friends, who are not all bears. There's Nosy, who is also a bear, and Sir Oliver, or Sir Ollie, who is also a bear. But there's Moosey and Moosarella. Moosarella is about 3 inches tall. She's tiny. There is Sheepish, who is a lamb, and there is Rabby. Rabby is Rabby because he's a rabbit, but the T is silent at the end. So they have their adventures together, and I can see that being 2 or 3 books. Also, there's a book that I really, really want to write. It's called The Half-a-Tater.
And what's that going to be about?
There is a world where people only eat potatoes, and the farmers are struggling as they have to manually dig up the potatoes every year. And they just are barely able to feed everyone on the planet. People are hungry a lot. So there is this guy who creates a machine called the Tater, and he builds it and sells it as a machine that will dig up every potato in the field. So all the farmer has to do is go along and pick up the potatoes in buckets and take them back for storage and to sell them in the market. The problem with the Tater is that when the farmers start to use it, it only picks up every other potato, and it leaves half of the potatoes underground in the field. Farmers are not happy. Go figure. So for years there's nothing better, so they call it the Half-a-Tater because it only picks up half the potatoes in the field. And then there's a transition where a little girl whose name is Sarah, I think, I haven't quite figured that out, she studies the Half-a-Tater when it's working and when it's idle. and she is a mechanical whiz. And she puts together her thingamabobs and whatchamacallits and doodads. And she takes the half a tater apart and she puts in all these pieces that she is adding and puts it all back together. And lo and behold, it works. Well, the farmers tout her as this great savior because it does work. It picks up all the potatoes and digs them up. The problem is that because they've had to use the half a tater for so many decades, the farmers had planted twice the number of potatoes they would need to feed their families and to sell. Well, once the half a tater becomes the full tater, what do they do with all those extra potatoes? And they become irritated and they don't know what to do. And so they blame not Sarah, but her father, because it's his fault. She did this.
We have a saying.
Well, the rest of the
we have a saying over here, Joanna. The farmers are never happy. It's either raining too much, it's too sunny, it's too windy. And of course, you came from farming stock, didn't you?
I did.
And the weather was never right. The weather was never right.
And I did help dig up potatoes.
Yeah, I thought you did, and that's where it's come from, everybody. She's gone back to her childhood. Remember digging up the potatoes. There's a story. But that's for the future, everyone.
Yeah, that was with my granddad. And the rest of the book is just, go ahead. Sorry.
No. And the rest of the book
is people working together as a team to try and figure out how to deal with all these potatoes and what they should do to go forward. So that's the book.
Well, let's wait and see when that comes out. Joann, where can people get your books from?
Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, my website, which is secretlifeofbears.com. And you can get it at the publisher, which is exlibris.com. And if you want a free copy, you can come to my house.
That's a bit of a long journey from me, coming from Derby in the United Kingdom to go to California.
I think so.
Joann Slead, it's been a wonderful experience to talk to you about your life and your books, and especially the young kids book here, which is wonderfully illustrated, beautiful pictures, and with an amazing storyline with all the little messages neatly told within those stories. So all it leaves me to say at the end of all my interviews is, everybody, firstly, Joann Slead, thank you very much. But I'm JT Crowley. Thanks for listening. Wherever you're in the world, stay safe. Until next time.